Hey there, boils and ghouls. Welcome to another episode of Halloweekly. Nick and George here with the long-awaited, for us, it finally came out. Here's our it review. We're just so excited. The movie came out.
Yes.
So, a little bit of background real quick. We just got back from the theater, and about 2 hours before that, I just finished the 45-hour-long audiobook of it. So I'm full to the brim.
You're steeped with it.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm full of it.
Yes. And we're going to keep the review spoiler-free until near the end of this episode, and we'll give you ample warning before.
Yeah, well, plenty of time to not ruin anything. I'm sure most of the fans already know what happens, but there's
Well, the movie does change some things from the book,
movie
so.
does change a little bit. The general.
Let's give our general reaction to the movie first. I loved it. I am like 90% happy with it. There were a couple things where I felt like it was stumbling a little, or some things that were going. But overall, I thought it was fantastic. Just my first impression coming out of the theater is, believe it or not, I thought walking out of the theater, my first thing would be, was it as scary as everyone's saying it is? And it's not. Like, the first thing that's coming to my mind is just how fucking funny it is.
Yeah.
There's this new wave of really well executed movies. Like, I think of Get Out as an example, where they do the humor in the horror so well. Like in Get Out, the guy's friend, the TSA friend, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And some of the other, like, the awkward, funny scenes with it. And in this one, the banter between the kids was fantastic.
They were hilarious.
There were musical jokes in this. Like, there were literally, there'd be a scene where there'd be some, like, tension or, like, whatever, and then they would just drop, like, New Kids on the Block in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it turned into, like, a mini MTV, like, moment, right?
Yeah.
Like,
just random pop-ups that you wouldn't you didn't see.
right. And
coming.
I thought it was really clever, because what was happening was it would, like, relieve the tension with those humor bombs and then ratchet it up real quick after, which I feel like was on purpose.
And the great thing about the humor and stuff, like the banter between the Losers Club, like felt real. Like, it felt like an actual group of kids, like, just like screwing around with each other, telling jokes.
So, mostly, the humor parts I thought felt real. There were some points where they were making the kids give us exposition about why they fear the things they fear that felt a little forced. Like the slaughter bolt for I can't remember his name. That one poor kid.
For Mike.
For
Mike
Mike,
Hamlin.
yeah, Mike. The slaughter bolt was pretty on the nose. Like that. At first, it was a metaphor. Then it was actual real life. Then it was actually something that he underwent. Like, it was just, like,
Yeah.
whatever. But the banter between them was you're right. That was totally spot on. It totally felt real.
I was about to say
when they weren't
give
giving us plot, it was.
They didn't give Mike a whole lot in the film.
No.
In this one, but then again, the thing he says verbatim is, "I'm an outsider." So
totally.
there you go.
Totally right.
Bases covered.
Totally.
But everything just about, like, the reaction I had, because I'm coming fresh from spending 45 hours getting to know the Losers Club, and, like, because in the book it goes into so much fucking backstory, just
Sure.
like,
Yeah, for sure.
like, it's just Stephen King at a typewriter, just typing some, pages and pages and pages and pages of backstory, which and I have to keep like separating, like, how I felt about the book from the movie.
Sure.
Because, like, and I normally don't do that at all.
Right.
Like, I just did this because
But you just read it.
yeah, I just read it, and the fact that they executed so much and got you to connect with the Losers Club and get to know as much as you did about them in 2 hours, all of it is incredible.
Yeah,
like, that was
pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to knock out.
And I was like, yeah, for sure. And that's one of the other things that was, I mean, it's got to be kind of messing with your mind that the book's going back and forth in time so much. And this was locked down in one time frame, the movie.
Yeah.
So that must have been like a weird experience for you.
Well,
Because
yeah.
I kept expecting to flash to adults. I kept forgetting that wasn't going to happen in the movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Actually, I mean, as cool as it was, like that's part of the like I tried to read like the ebook of it, and I just got confused immediately. The audiobook made it a lot easier.
Sure.
But I like just having one side. It's like cooking a pancake. Do one side first, then flip it over and finish it. So I mean, I really
Yes.
I liked that better, and I like just the cast they had for the kids. Like I'm almost like we were saying before. We started recording. I'm almost sad that chapter 2 more than likely is going to be the adults, and that's all we're going to get from that cast of kids.
Yeah, they were phenomenal.
Like I almost wish there was a part 1, part 2, chapter 1, part 1, part 2 for the adults. I mean, I know that would add so much more
Right.
to it, but they were just so good.
Yeah, we're gonna miss them. They were fantastic.
And even the well, I guess should we go chronologically now that we got our
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. So what'd you think of how it opened
with the Georgie
with Georgie and You'll Float and all?
Georgie scene? Well, we saw Annabelle, and part of our review for Annabelle was the beginning of it.
Yeah, correct.
Because we were so excited.
That's true.
And I was on pins and needles waiting to see like what was gonna happen. Like, how were they gonna kill Georgie?
Yes.
That was the big thing for me. How are they gonna go balls to the wall?
Yep.
And this isn't really spoiler territory, right? Because this is the actual.
It's the beginning of the
film.
movie. Yeah,
They did. Like they went
for it.
They went straight for it.
Yeah, it was
and
pretty
I was real excited that they did it.
I was excited that they did it, and I was also. It's one of the things that's really good about Stephen King is that he doesn't shy away from the damage that horror or horrible things can do. Right.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as he took Georgie's arm that we were going to end up seeing Georgie with only one arm later at some point in the movie, right? And it's sad because the kid's super cute. Like they,
Oh my God.
literally, he's heartbreaking. Like he's so good at that. And one of the things that was really cool about that scene was it instantly gave you the problem with the town in miniature because an adult sees this go down and doesn't do anything about it. And then
she sees the blood and the
she sees she first of all she sees the kid talking to a sewer, playing in a sewer, and doesn't even try to stop that. If I look out my window in the rainstorm and there's a kid sticking his head in the sewer, I'm gonna go out and be like, "Hey, what the hell?
Get the hell out
what
of
the hell,
there."
kid?
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't do that." Right? Like, so the fact that she didn't do anything before anything bad happened was bad. Then, Georgie's, there's just blood and it's gradually getting washed away by the rain, and that was a cool shot.
Oh.
And she just shrugged I think that one of the creepiest things about the whole concept of this is how bad the adults in the town are and how little they try to do. And one of the interesting things is, in a typical like slasher, like the first thing that comes into my mind is the whole ridiculous cop sequence in Friday the 13th 6. Or even Nightmare on Elm Street, like the cops always get involved. In this one, you keep seeing missing kids signs tacked everywhere from the Derry police, but no fucking police. Like the police don't do shit. As a matter of fact, the only police we meet end up being really fucked up.
Yeah, they end up being the dad of the Bowers.
Yes. So I thought that was cool that even in that little scene, you got that horror does lasting damage. You got that the town doesn't care, and you got that real life is horrible too because the adults truly suck, right? And it was all in there, which was cool.
Yeah, in fact, what they because a lot of people are going to compare this to the book. I'm assuming throughout the next forever now.
Right.
And that was one of the things they said at the end of the book was the residents of Derry, I think. They just try to shy away from all the bad shit because they don't want to like take responsibility for it. And they peppered that little thing that's in the end of the book, like right in the beginning. Like, by the way, here's how all the adults are going to act throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And, now that I think about it, one of the really evil twists of the knife that Stephen King gives you here is all you got to do is make it through its wake cycle. Because then you're safe for 26 years.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to make it. So the adults are just putting up with this shit. They basically have to put up this shit one or twice in their life if they're lucky, and then the rest is fine. So they're not even that motivated to do much about it, if I'm understanding how it works right? Like, I don't know how much its evil lingers after he goes to sleep again.
From what I remember, because also for the people... For the book, for people...
You were listening to it 3 times speed.
I was like, 2x speed, trying to get it in before...
Yeah, it was like the chipmunks were
Yeah, reading. And what was weird, and that's the thing we talked about, like, that's one of, like, the downsides to Pennywise, is, like, the mythology of him...
Is pretty weak.
Pretty weak. So, like, I don't know, like, what his quota is. Like, how much he has to intake or feed off of until he rests. I don't know.
Right. I don't think Stephen King even knew that.
Yeah, I don't.
When he was writing it,
or if it even matters.
Right. Exactly.
At that point.
But it is kind of cool that you just got to make it, which means they have incentive to be bystanders. Is the point? On top of just being bad fucking people. So
it kind of reminds me. I don't know why. It just and I've mentioned this song a few times to you just from talking, but it almost kind of reminded me of "Comfortably Numb" from Pink Floyd. That's what Derry feels like. Like they're just like, okay, we made it through this. We're just gonna fucking float to the next.
Just gotta make it through the show, right?
And it's depressing too. Derry feels like,
dude, right?
Well, what's funny is when I was listening to the book, I grew up in a town, Springfield, Ohio, which I guess the only claim to fame of that is John Legend's from there. But other than that, we're close to Dayton, which is like the highest. I think it was like the #1 city for the opioid epidemic, and all I could think about was like Springfield, Ohio, and like how much of like just like how run down and kind of a dump it is. And then when we watched the film, part of it was like, oh, I could totally see that being. So like the seeing how like,
so Pennywise lives in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, exactly. So but seeing how they made Derry come to life in the film, like it was just so spot on, and like you knew exactly what that town was about and how it just felt like just a mediocre town full of mediocre people where something like Pennywise could live and do all that shit.
Totally.
Forever and ever.
So then as we get into the movie, we meet all the kids. We start to find out how bad their lives are.
The way they set up meeting the kids and their fears was perfect.
What do you mean?
So like we met the Georgie scene happened.
Yep.
And then if I remember correctly, we meet all the kids and the bully.
Because it's the last day of school.
Yeah, it's the last day of school. We meet the kids. We meet the bully. Then we meet Bev. And then Ben Hanscom.
Yep.
And then they all sort of go off and do their thing, right?
Yep.
And one by one, up until the clown scene in Neibolt, it pretty much shows each individual kid's fear. They all see something scary, and it's just kind of like how in the book, it focused on how each kid got the call. And then when they got the call, it flashed back to their childhood and how they scared. They almost sort of did something very, very, very similar to that. And the way they knocked out each of the individual scares was great.
Yeah, totally. And so what did you think about, because I'm not sure how I feel about this. What did you think about CSI Ben? Because that kid was like the ultimate researcher.
He was good.
Yeah, he was Edward Snowden good or whatever. Like,
yeah, he was like above and beyond.
It was a little unrealistic. Like, and I didn't get why he was so motivated to do all that work. Because we randomly meet him in a library, which was a great scene. And we met him a little before. But then we followed him
because he has the little crush with Bev.
Yeah, exactly. That was a great scene.
Oh my god, that was like really, listening to New Kids on the Block,
and she totally calls him out, which is fantastic. But then we meet him in the library, and he's just automatically just drawn to reading about like old timey Derry history, and I didn't get the motivation. Like in a typical horror movie, he would be getting pushed by the good force to do that, which I guess would be the turtle.
Yeah, the turtle would somehow be.
But I don't know. I don't know that I believe that someone would put that much. I mean, he literally was doing like Mel Gibson conspiracy theory, papering the walls of his house. With
like figuring out all the big events that.
So I don't know how I felt about that. It was cool, and the kid's a great actor, But I felt like that was kind of over the top.
I think that's
but
where,
they needed it.
Yeah, and that's where like I think a lot of like the book people are going to be like, well, that's why the book was better because they had more time of him being in the library. I didn't
Right.
really mind it that much, to be honest. To me, it just seemed like a kid who was real big on the history of the town. Like it just seemed like a kid who had a big infatuation with the town for some reason. It just one of the, I don't know. I really so like when I was in elementary school and middle school, I really dug the shit out of history. I didn't dig it to that level,
Right.
But I can understand.
But you can see,
I can
fair
understand
enough.
like I don't know, like if I go to a town and I see that there's been a lot of mass murders and shit, I'm probably gonna be like, why did that happen?
Yeah, well, that's
so
true.
I sort of
That's
get it,
true.
but I can also see why it seemed unbelievable that he was like Sherlock Holmes level, like figuring out that shit.
Well, there was a heartbreaking moment before that I really liked. It's one of the things I really appreciate about this movie, which was Bill trying to reenact what happened to Georgie in the garage with like the tubing. And
Oh yeah.
and that was really like sad and chilling, right? They're all doing sort of their own research of it.
Yeah.
But he's trying to research what happened to Georgie, and he duplicates like the sewer construction in his garage with like pipes. He's even got like a little Georgie action figure. Or
Yeah, like a
something.
little GI Joe or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. And it was so sad. I mean, it's just one of the things that really puts this movie at a different level for me. Is those little touches like that were really cool.
This movie had so much flavor to it when it came to stuff like that.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. So then they figure out the Pennywise thing is happening. And so we can get into this now. Not spoilers yet, but what did you think of Pennywise? This is the elephant in the room.
He's so fucking good.
It was amazing, right?
He's so fucking good. And I think John Campiano, I think I said his name right. The guy we've had on the show before did Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
I think he did an article that I saw some post of there's no real need to like compare the two Pennywises. Like they're each their individual thing.
Sure.
So I'm not going to compare it to Tim Curry because it's apples.
I could
and
care less about comparison.
It's apples and oranges at this point.
I went to see this movie today, so I'm just thinking about this Pennywise.
And he was so good.
He was really good.
It was just such a different approach to the thing. Like a lot of people will say like it's more faithful to the book.
Sure.
Whatever, like that's great. But even if like not comparing it to the book, he was just good. Like
yeah, he was scary. He was. First of all, I loved the way he moved. There's a scene where he comes out of a refrigerator. I think it's a refrigerator.
Yeah,
like a storage
at the
thing.
Nebolt house.
And he's got to like unfold and untwist himself, whatever. And it was just so good. Like the way they shot it was so creepy, and it was like, but he did these little body language moves, almost like he was amused or he was having fun, but also that he was sort of in pain somehow. It was a really weird combination of. Reading his body language was really weird. It was off, and it made it really sinister that way. And the shit they did with his eyes was
oh my god,
fucking incredible.
Every
right?
time he like made like some kind of formation, that little roll
absolutely
that they did in
and
place.
one of my that reminds me, one of my absolute favorite shots in the movie is right in the beginning when Georgie goes down to the cellar, and there's something in the cellar that looks like two eyes. And it's such a great shot. Holy shit. It was so good.
It was terrifying.
Yeah, it was totally terrifying. And those two pinprick lights that are at the center of Pennywise's eyes, that was really, really good. But not only was he actually scary, and not only did I think he nailed like it's the thing that all the horror fans say like about Jason and Michael, like how they move is Pennywise is more articulate, so you wouldn't expect that to be important, but it was super important because it totally sold it. It was less of what he was saying and more of how he was delivering it and like whatever. And he was physically intimidating.
Yeah, he was like lengthy and like had this. I don't know. It was almost sort of like a. Remember that effect they did in Logan when Professor Xavier was having the seizure. and Logan's like everything's shaking, and Logan's sort of like,
Oh yeah.
He moved sort of similar to that,
totally,
and it was
absolutely.
super unsettling.
It was totally So I mean, he was absolutely fantastic, and we saw it it was basically a half full theater because we're seeing it on a Thursday night.
Yeah, we saw the earliest.
We saw the earliest showing, and it scared the crap out of. He was scaring the crap out of a lot of people, and there are some jump scares that involve him that were just incredible. Like, I don't usually like jump scares, but they made sense for him because he needed to appear like it's weird. He feeds off fear, right? Yeah. So like the jump scare is a natural. Like it's one of the few horror things where I'll just forgive it because it totally makes sense for him to do because that's what he's trying to do. And it's like an addict who like. You know, they buy the drugs and they get home and like that first is like I'm just gonna hit it. Like he's like
I got a whole load. Might as well.
Right. He was like loading up on fear like right away.
But the great thing is like even the jump scare. Like a lot of people say, oh, they were cheap jump scares. Which if you look at it on a movie level, maybe. But the way I saw it was all those jump scares that happened in the film were like strategic to Pennywise.
Yes.
Throughout the film.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Like he planned
And it's
those.
weird because some of the jump scares are almost like a Freddy syndrome. Like when he emerges out of this is not really a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but when he sort of emerges out of the slideshow thing, the projector, whatever the fuck that thing is.
Well, Freddy Krueger makes a cameo.
Yeah, he totally is. And that's the thing is like when
that's
he
not
came
a spoiler,
out of it,
it's a poster. Don't worry.
When he came out of it, it was like half in and half out of the world, sort of like a Freddy scenario.
Yeah,
he operates sort of similar to Freddy because he's feeding off an emotion, right? That was just fucking really good, and they did a really good job of centering him in the sewers that he lives in that he's using.
Yeah.
So that he was always kind of dirty and toxic.
Yeah.
Even when he didn't look dirty and toxic, when he was just full on Pennywise costume, like whatever, it was.
He had some grit.
He had some grit, but once he reveals those fucking teeth, and then you see inside of him, you know that you're just dealing with something that's toxic and contagious and like whatever. He had a really good aura of that too. So he was,
and his voice was really creepy too. Like you couldn't place his voice like
right.
Like Tim Curry had the one voice like "Hi, you Georgie," like that kind of thing. But Pennywise, like his voice was just it never landed in one spot.
No,
and that's what made it so irritating. It was always changing pitches, going in and out, full volume, low volume, like catching his breath, like style.
Yeah, and I still think like the opening scene with Georgie, you get why he makes Georgie laugh for a second. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's not playing Pennywise at Spinal Tap 11 like Tim Curry was, right? So, so he could actually be kind of low key, sort of funny, like when he was doing the popcorn thing.
Yeah.
You could see that was whatever, which was really I think that's one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. Is when he's making Georgie laugh and then his face just goes dead.
Oh.
Like it just goes dead, like someone unplugged him. And it's like he can't maintain humor for very long because he's so fucking evil. He just can't, like whatever. But he just, the way he acted, that was just amazing. Like his face just lost all the life in it.
Well, we talked a little bit about this when we saw the Annabelle, the teaser. And the great thing about that scene, just to jump back to the Georgie scene, was you can see Pennywise figuring Georgie out in that scene. Like you watch him like mapping what he's gonna do to him and how he's gonna give him to fear, which was just like masterful. Like it was
and also think about how much practice he has at this.
He's been doing it since
just killing kids so that, and you get that feeling that this is just literally he's just going out to buy a newspaper.
It's just
for him.
It's breakfast.
That's not even a thing. So, what did you think of the other scares? So when he's manifesting his other things, like the thing from the painting or the leper, etc.
I really liked. I think out of all of them, the leper was gross. Because what King did really well in the book was like describe the leper. And the one thing I can't stand is like when monsters like don't have a nose and you could see into that hole, and the leper was just fucking disgusting.
Yeah, he was.
They took out they edited. I mean, obviously it's a 45-hour audiobook, 1,000-page
Right.
book.
Plus, yeah.
And I think a lot of the stuff they cut out was great. Like the leper in the book is talking about giving what's it? Let me just bring up the name here. Giving, let's see, where's he at? Giving Eddie Kaspbrak a blowjob.
Yes.
The whole time, like
Yes.
that, which is in the book is unselling because it's a leper gross doing
Totally.
that. But having that cut from the movie,
We did not need that in the
it didn't.
movie.
It didn't anything.
But it worked in the book. I remember that.
Yeah. And the painting lady was really freaky, kind of Valak almost from
Yep, totally.
Conjuring 2. The one I think I liked the most though actually was probably the kids who died in the Easter egg hunt in the library.
Oh, yeah.
I actually kind of like that. That was where they
interesting.
moved like in the short film for Mama before
Yeah,
they did
totally.
the film. It moved a little bit like that. What did you think?
I didn't buy him that much. That was one of the weaknesses of the movie to me. I don't know if it was just they were in too much detail. Like they just full on ran the camera right up to their face. Like
Yeah.
they didn't hide anything. This is what people in shadows. Like
Mm-hmm.
you got to meet them. You had tea with them. Like they were.
Yeah.
They were like really shown and displayed. I didn't buy them. I don't know why so much. I didn't find them that scary. I know they were scary for the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't find them that scary. I think they're just not scary compared to Pennywise as part of the part of the problem.
They also come.
They're also not scary compared to the adults. Like Bev's dad is far more scary than any of these other creatures. As a matter of fact, all of the people, whoever adopted Mike was that asshole at the beginning. He was scary. Like
Eddie's mom.
they're all scary. Like they were scarier than
Cassie.
whatever. And the bully ends up
Great.
being scary. Yeah, she was awesome. I think they were the least scary in the whole hierarchy, which is weird. There were some great shots of the painting one where it was kind of unsettling, but I didn't buy the leper.
They come very, very early.
I actually really, really found Georgie scary.
Yeah, when Bill saw him in the basement later.
That was one of the manifestations. That was whatever. And when you see Pennywise in history, like when they're leafing through the old photographs and they're seeing. He's scary there too. You know what I mean? It's weird because I know they're supposed to be manifesting like the fears to the people, but that was the one part where I felt like the movie sort of fell down for me. But I was just curious. And then I also did not like the Neibolt house on the outside. I was okay with the inside.
Yeah.
But the outside I felt was way over the top.
Oh, I loved it. I loved.
I'm sure you did.
It's
great design, but
it just looked like you're. I mean, it obviously like it looked like the Tales from the Crypt house, like in the middle of like a nice town. So it looked a little out of place, but I didn't mind it. It
was in the Skid Row part of town. Like I got that, but it was just. I mean, it was. They really. It. I think what bothered me was it looked like what they would build for this if they were putting it in like Universal Horror Nights.
Yeah.
It looked
That
a
makes sense.
little fakey to me. But inside was great. Like I liked how decrepit it was and how it fell apart and so there were some great scenes. Like first of all, when they charged into the house, I wasn't buying that either because they went in with like no weapons, like no plan.
Yeah.
And only 3 of them went in. Was weird to me.
Yeah.
Only 3 of them entered the house. Why did they were going to leave one person behind to watch? Which also didn't make any sense because who was going to come to that side of town?
Well, also, Eddie should have told them, by the way, the leper was outside. So being the lookout's not going to do you much good.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that part, I mean, that's where it's just like.
But Bill kind of drags him in with his noble courage, which was fine. I mean, he was a great character. He's a great actor, and he really sold that part. But it's fine. It's not a big deal. But they go into the house, and when they go to the house, there are some great scenes because Pennywise is strategically cutting them off from each other.
That part I really like.
Putting them in different rooms. Mm-hmm. There's one of the obligatory. You see a body and that's half in a doorway, and then it gets dragged away suddenly. I hate that every fucking horror movie does that now.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
But once they're in there and they're confronting Pennywise, what he did to Richie was fucking awesome. he gave he had a missing sign with
Oh.
with him already missing, which freaked him out. And that little actor did a great job of like,
Yeah, the kid from Stranger Things.
yeah, he was
Oh.
amazing. And then when they put him in the room with the clowns because he's afraid of clowns, and then there's like a little coffin with a little like clown him in it, and it was like decaying. Like it was so
It had like maggots growing.
yeah, it
through
was great. It was such a great scene, and then Pennywise actually emerges, and that's just, I mean, really, it's a testament to how great performance he gave, because he's in a room full of scary clowns, and he made them all look like dog shit after he.
Yeah, you're not looking at him on the way out.
After he showed up, they
He's the only thing-
they weren't scary anymore.
He's the only thing that matters. And then the leper shows up again.
Yes.
To mess with Eddie. I just have a feeling they saw the leper design. They were like, okay, yeah, it's more right.
Yeah.
So, like they really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Because it's disgusting.
It is pretty disgusting.
And then there was the leper, the clown room.
Yep.
And then what was the other monster? There was a third thing.
Well, he pushes him through the floor. He falls through the floor and breaks his arm, and I can't remember.
Oh, that's right.
I think it was just him. I think it was Pennywise. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, because then they run, and then that was a really cool scene with the 3 doors. In blood wrote, not
was
scary,
great.
scary, very scary.
Again, like amusement park ride a little bit, but it was great.
That was so cool. And I was like, when I saw, what door would you have went through?
The one, not scary. The one they picked, of course.
See, I guess as a moviegoer, I would have been like, I don't think there's a right option. Either door you're going to go through is going to be
right.
He's not going to give you a clear way out.
Right.
But in the book, they did mention one of the girls. That was one of the girls missing that they had seen.
Mm-hmm.
That was super hanging, and that shot was super.
That was
super fucking cool.
That was cool. That was really, really cool. And and then you get to the emotional part of this, because that's really the core of this movie, is the friendship between these kids, and then the parents are starting to split them up again. Because,
the romance too.
Yeah,
the romance was adorable in this movie.
Yeah,
between oh my god, what's his name? Not
Bev and Bill.
Bev and Bill, but then also with Ben. How Ben had the biggest crush. He was so adorable.
Dude, that was fantastic.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. We skipped the weirdo underwear scene, which
That's all you need to know. There's a scene where they just all go swimming in their underwear.
Yeah, but it's just weird. The way it was shot was weird. It was just a really weird.
Yeah, it was just kind of
placement. But anyway, so what happens now is it's Eddie that got injured. Who broke his arm?
Yeah, Eddie breaks his
arm, and then Eddie's mom peels him away from the group. Mm-hmm. And then basically the group dissolves. Because, they go back to their summer. And that was really sad. You really felt like whatever was evil in this town was winning. Mm-hmm. And even if it didn't come for them, even if that was it, even if that was over, like it went to sleep after that, you felt like something was really wrong with the world. It won. And that was a really kind of demoralizing moment for the group. And I thought the movie did a great job of kind of getting that across. So you were like hoping that things would get better again. And then there's the horrifying Pennywise kidnaps Bev scene, and now we're kind of like going into spoiler possible territory. So
that's the most like meat and potatoes part of the film. You get a lot of jump scares that are like really well done. They're not cheap,
and they're not jump scare 2 seconds and then it's over. Like, there's some jump scares where the jump scare happens and then bad things happen for 3 more minutes after the jump scare. Like, it wasn't just cheap, ta-da, and then it's over.
Last guy we got to talk about before we go into is the bullies.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I like them a lot.
They were really well casted in there, too. Like, they felt like shitheads.
Yes.
And the rock fight scene was fucking hilarious.
Oh, I forgot about the rock fight scene. That was glorious, dude.
Yeah, in the book they mentioned it lasts like 4 minutes, and what's they basically call Bev like a whore, and then Ben just lets out this is Sparta fucking like scream, and it's so metal. Yes. And then the Stranger Things Richie just yells rock fight,
and
they just bash
or
each
Rock
other's with
War.
fucking
Yeah, it
rocks.
was- oh, yeah.
And it played like fucking like some kind of like Slayer heavy metal shit.
Yeah.
It was like the most metal scene. Like
It was
the
so
musical
good.
beats in this film were hilarious.
And it was great that they even charged into that because they went there to help Mike.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had gotten the backbone to start confronting the bullies head on was amazing. And then the rock war is incredible, but the best part of that, and Richie steals a lot of the scenes in this movie. Like he's so good, but at the end of the rock war, when the other two bullies have vanished, and then it's just the one main bully laying there, he says something. I can't even remember what he says.
He says, "Go home and suck your dad's cock," and flips him off, and just walks away.
Yeah, you like mullet wearing.
Yeah,
like,
you mullet wearing.
It was.
Hickers.
Oh my god, it was amazing.
It was the best line.
Yeah, and he gives like a peace out or I like
a double flip off.
Oh my god, it was amazing, dude.
Like the trash talk in this film is
it was really.
It's just on point.
And the musical like choices were really interesting because they just full on. You're right. They just full on played some.
It's just full on heavy metal. Like it just went into
metal
like
there.
thrash metal. I think it sounded like, I don't know, like Anthrax or something like that. It was great.
That was pretty amazing. Yeah, I totally forgot about the scene. I'm glad you.
There was just a lot of good stuff. So that's most of it. There's a handful more scenes we didn't talk about, but I mean I almost guarantee 75-80% of the listeners are gonna probably see it within this weekend or next weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's and it changes a lot for all the book purists. Which is funny. This is the only time I've ever like read the book before, and everyone's like, "What'd you think?" And after spending all this time with them, I'm like, "Well, there's a lot of material." But being that it's 2 hours out of, like I said, the 45-hour book, like it's fantastic. It's a great movie. It's super well put together. The pacing's like killer, and
you're gonna have fun watching.
Yeah,
like it's
there's so much.
It's fun, scary, and it's also hilarious in parts, and I just the audience had a blast, so it was
really well done. Okay, so now this is the part. Let's see where we at here. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're on time. So we're gonna go into some spoiler stuff. We're gonna talk. I guess this part we can talk a little bit about some of the changes and then the ending.
Yep,
of course. So this is spoilers.
Last
5,
warning. Yep.
4, 3, 2, 1. The Mummy shows up. I'm so fucking excited.
That was awesome.
So okay, so now we're spoilers. I'm so glad because in the book in Nebolt Street.
Well, let's set it up. So they Pennywise kidnaps Bev. The Losers Club reassembles to go find her. They go back to the house on Nebolt Street. And the bully is now working for Pennywise.
Yeah, he goes and kills his father.
And that scene was amazing. Jenny hid her face the whole time it was happening. But the scene where the bully kills his father, who's a police officer or something, that scene, the delivery of the knife to the mailbox was so good. I will never forget that. It was just the balloon coming out of the mailbox and then him gift wrapped his dad's knife that he left behind when he ran. When they were chasing. When he went chasing.
Not Bill.
Ben. And then he just goes in and the TV is literally telling him to kill his dad.
Did you notice that television show was playing before in the film?
Yes, totally.
And they were mentioning the sewers.
Yep.
So Pennywise is also just like
jacking the TV
throughout the thing, which I thought was so fucking cool.
It was really, really cool. And then it's so chilling because the TV is cheering him on. Like he's killing his dad, and the TV's like, "Let's give him a hand." Like I was like, "Wow, this is really fucked up." That was really good. I just wanted to throw that in there because it's a great scene.
That was really good,
right? But then they go to Nebolt Street. The bully's waiting to ambush them. The Losers Club's reassembled. They charge in. They finally have weapons. Thank God. And then they go to try to
which they have the thing they used to kill the sheep with.
The sheep with.
So it's not a slingshot.
No, it's the bolt of something.
Yeah.
So then they go actually into the sewer where it emerges from because they've determined that it lives in this house.
Yeah, they watched Pennywise after they sort of fucked him up in Nebolt's the Nebolt house. They see him go to the sewer, so they're 100% sure at this point.
Yep,
he's in there.
So they descend into the sewer to find Bev. Pennywise terrifies Bev and then levitates her, which was fucked up.
That was pretty dope.
That was a great scene.
I really
when she said, "I'm not scared of you," and he said something like, "You will be."
You will be, yeah.
And then whatever
he just shows her like infinity in his
mouth.
Oh
my god! It was
like the void or something.
Yeah, it was terrifying, and it was very it had a very Lovecraft feel. Like it just went into empty, like infinite space of like teeth and void.
It
And
was
like,
just so cool. Anytime
was
Pennywise
really,
unhinged his jaw
yeah,
and like the teeth came
that
out,
was
like
great.
that was so cool.
So they're going to rescue him. Pennywise is up to his usual tricks. He's separating him off one by one, getting him to go down false passages and whatever. But
Yeah.
okay, so go ahead now.
Well, then also Mike gets left behind. Like Mike's the last one to go down.
Yes.
And then that's when what's his name? Henry Bowers
Yes.
comes up behind them, and then they have a quick little to do.
They have a little scuffle.
And
Mike
I think,
has an on the nose struggle with the metaphor of getting
slaughtered
bolted to the head, and then
and I'm pretty sure because in the books and in the miniseries, Henry's down there. Pennywise uses heroin. He goes insane. It seems like he's dead in this one. Like,
yeah, they
like
might have changed that.
I think,
Because they changed some of that character arc we were talking about.
yeah, which I kind of wouldn't mind because it's a little kind of weird, and it doesn't really matter in the book. I mean, the fact that Henry goes back and like tries to kill some of them, it didn't really need to have shit was still going to go down with Pennywise regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I like that Pennywise can use real life people
Yeah.
to inflict harm, but I don't know that we have to stick with the same person for the whole story for the movie. He could find other
I mean, he can use the television.
real people to.
So it's like,
Yeah,
and it's going to be
totally.
2000. If they do the 27 years, it'll be this.
Yeah.
It'll be whatever year.
Yeah, so he can use high def TV now.
Yeah. So it doesn't even matter.
It's fine.
Um.
So they confront Pennywise in the sewer. There's an epic fight.
Yeah. And so what I was
And
saying,
the mummy's there.
So in the Nebolt fight in the original, I think it's a teenage werewolf shows up, and in the library, Dracula shows up, and for one of the bullies, they see Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
And I was like, "There's no way they're gonna have." Like, I was waiting for the Nebolt house.
'Cause they're not scary
there's
anymore.
also the giant bird that attacks
Right.
everyone, and I was like, "There's no fucking way
No.
that bird's gonna show up." But during the big fight, Pennywise takes a few shapes. He has the octopus tentacles, which I think happens in the book. But then you get the mummy for a few seconds, and I was like, "Fucking thank God!" Because they said his bandages wrap around someone, and I think it wrapped around Ben in the film. And goddamn, if the mummy didn't come out, wrap his bandages around, try to suck him in. And I was like,
Great.
"Yes!"
And actually, you know what? I'm going to backtrack for a second. I don't want to leave this out because I think it was one of the best scenes in the whole movie. There's a scene where Bev gets attacked sort of by Pennywise through her sink in her bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then her bathroom basically goes full on Shining elevator. And it's just covered with blood.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, for sure. And which gets a shout out in this movie. It's on a marquee.
Nightmare 5.
Yeah, Nightmare 5. But her dad comes in and he's like, he can't see any of this because the adults can't see it. Mm-hmm. So he can't. The whole bathroom is covered in blood. She's covered in blood, and he can't see it. And when he leaves, oh my God, my heart just went out for her because I mean she's gonna live in this house. She's gonna go to this bathroom every day, and it's just gonna look like this. And I thought that was a really cool concept because it made you feel how isolated their characters were with no possibility of anyone helping them. Because in a lot of horror movies, you have to convince the adults to get on board, and that's hard in a horror movie as by itself.
Yeah.
But if they can't see what the fuck's happening,
You know what-
then you have no chance of getting them on board.
You know what I really liked though about that whole thing was she had the postcard in the room when the blood got
From
everywhere.
The Secret Admirer.
Yeah, and then later on in the film when her dad confronted her with the postcard, it still had the blood splattered
that was
all
really
over
cool.
it. I was like,
there's
"Oh."
actually a later scene where they've cleaned the bathroom and then she sees that one spot of blood left. It's really good. It's the whole thing. The way they handled that whole thing was really masterful. But the Losers Club comes in, and I think it was like literally the most heroic moment. They do heroic things, but it was the most quietly heroic moment in the movie when they go into the house and she's like, "My dad can't know boys. I've had boys in here. He'll kill me." And then the whole Losers Club, except for fucking Richie, goes in because he's at guarding the whatever, and they all go in and they can see that the bathroom looks like this, and Bill just looks around and goes, "We can't leave this like this." And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
It was such a great character touch that he was the one that was going to step up and be like, so they cleaned a room that actually didn't look like that, at least not for adults, right? And it was just really cool to watch them get together as a team, help Bev out so her life didn't get even more sucky.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that was
And that's what the power of like the Losers Club. Like that's how like you really connect with that those characters.
Yep.
They were just They're just
So then Beverly's levitating. They all converge on Pennywise.
beat the shit out of him with whatever they can
Well,
find.
first of all, they have to wake Beverly up.
Yeah.
So
Well,
then,
well. Before that, Bill has to put one in Georgie's noggin.
Yep.
Because
that was...
Georgie's like saying, "I want to go home and miss mom and dad." He's like, "You're not him." And then Pennywise has this like awesome like werewolf looking like werewolf clown transformation.
Yeah, he explodes out of Georgie.
Like that scene was fucking.
That
cool.
was fantastic.
So they beat the shit.
Everything that happened in the whole end sequence was fantastic. The swirling, floating bodies were amazing. Like all that shit was incredible. Pennywise dancing, which I thought would be ridiculous, was actually horrifying because that's one of the things you can't. You were saying you can't get a read on fix on his voice. You can't fix where it's going to land, what register he's working in. He looked like that. Like there was a lot of times where he was just slightly blurry. Like it's just because he's moving. Like like you, and when you're fighting something to realize that it's moving in a way where you can't even really tell where it's going to go next or what it's going to do next.
I think there's an effect that I think Guy Ritchie is known for, where the head, like they like stabilize the head to be in the center of the frame, and it makes everything look weird. I think they did that a few times.
That sounds
so like
right.
when he was dancing, and then when he went after Richie in the clown room.
Yes,
like his head's like perfectly centered and everything else is moving. I think that's a Guy Ritchie-esque
that makes sense.
effect.
It was
that
fucking
people
amazing,
do, and it makes things look really like unsettling.
But Ben decides he's gonna wake Bev up.
Oh, which was great.
And he gives her a kiss, and the whole Losers Club is like, damn.
like everyone's like, it seemed like so cliche and it worked. And then she says like fire embers.
Yeah.
And then he quotes the rest of his poem. Like their romance was so adorable.
It was great. It was so good. And then terrible Georgie, like whatever. And then they decide that they're not afraid of Pennywise anymore.
Just beat the shit out of
and
him.
Richie has my favorite line in the entire movie.
Oh yeah.
Because so really what happens here, which is kind of great, is that Pennywise...
Because they had a tiff before going into this.
Yeah, but Pennywise is still trying to split them up, which I thought was really cool because he's still doing it. But now what he did was he took Bill and he's like, look, the rest of you can go, I'll kill you all, or I'll just kill him. And then the rest of you live, and you just, then I go to sleep and like whatever. And you feel, well, honestly, at that point, I felt like there was a possibility that the couple were going to walk. I knew in my heart that they wouldn't, but they did it well enough where I was in it.
And they'd also changed a few things too, where like part of me was like, I felt the same way. Like, there's no way they're going to do it. But goddamn, if like they did like have my mind going, well, what if someone
bails, right? Because he only needs one to break up the team, right?
Yeah.
So he's got Bill, and he's just this terrifying, intimidating, like whatever. And then Richie's like, I told you, Bill. I told you it was going to happen. You dragged me in here. Now you're trying to get me killed. And it sounds like the speech you give when you're about to walk out. Like he's like, you did this, and then you punched me in my face earlier. And he's got this whole litany of complaints against Bill. And he goes, and you brought me down here. And now I gotta kill this fucking clown. And he just picks up a bat, and it was
so fucking
the
cool.
best epic. Like, oh my god, it was so good. And they just like try to beat the shit out of Pennywise. And when Bev impales him, he got more terrifying.
Yeah, he looked almost
like through his head.
He looked like what's his face?
It was fucking Picasso painting. He looked like.
Oh my god, what's the guy's name? He was in Walking Dead from Slither. Remember when in Slither when he has like all the teeth going up the side of his face? He looked just like that.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
It was so cool.
And then again, just the testimony to fucking Skarsgård. I can't say his name. The guy Skarsgård's acting is that you saw that he was getting weaker and weaker because they were less afraid, and he was still scary, but he was getting weaker. And the way he played it was just like fucking pitch perfect because you could tell that he was losing. He knew he was losing the battle, and you could tell he was losing energy, and it just looked like someone that was getting... It was like watching a wild animal just get tranquilized over and over again. Like, like they're just putting him down, and he played it just right. And it was amazing. Like when he finally pitches him back into the well.
And the last thing he said was just fear.
Which was great. What a great way to leave. And that effect when his face started to disintegrate and parts of it were floating up, like it was amazing. And then the bodies start raining down like the floating.
It was...
it was epic. It was incredible, right? So that was all great. And then probably one of my least favorite scenes in the movie.
The blood pact.
Yeah, I didn't like the way they did the blood pact.
Well, watching people slice their hands open and mixing their blood with a broken beer bottle is
I
get.
it wasn't even so much that it was one of the things that was really good about the movie was that it kept the horror gritty, and then all of a sudden I felt like I was watching Sound of Music. The camera was hovering over them, and they were standing in a circle in a field, and it was like
I liked it.
I don't know. It was weird.
They just went through. They just like almost defeated evil.
Well, when they hugged it out, and then there was the really cool effect they chose to like show them sort of walking away one by one, but also fading away because you know they're going to be adults next time we see them.
And they forget each other too.
Yeah, that effect was really cool. That effect was nice. I don't know, whatever that scene was like, whatever. But then Bill and Bev get to have their last moment, which was cool. Because Bill again is the one who'll step up and he's
the leader.
He did watching him decide to go after Bev and kiss her, like he ran through 10 emotions on his face.
You watched him like calculate.
Yeah, it was incredible acting.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
I'm really glad in the film we got one hi ho silver away.
Yes.
Because I heard that fucking like 600 times
in the audio.
And they did it once.
They did it, at least they gave you
They did it once in the movie. I'm like, thank Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Thank Christ they did it. I was going to be so pissed if they didn't.
I want to hear this one more time.
But no, the ending was really sweet. And they the little lovers triangle they do like feels sweet, and like you don't like pick side, like you just feel like the love and like sweetness of like all of them, because like they're just trying to get through this shitty part of their life, because 13-14 is like the shittiest fucking time for anyone.
Especially if a demon clown lives in the
yeah, you gotta deal with that shit. So like just watching them deal with this shit, like they were just, the acting was just like,
yeah, that was
insanely good.
Yeah, and that's what and again, that's the thing right now. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, when I think back on this movie 6 months from now. But the thing is, I just really enjoyed myself, and I just keep thinking about, as we're wrapping this up, the funnier lines, the human lines just keep popping into my head. Like the I forget where in the movie this falls, but poor Ben gets slashed again. Like he already had like a letter carved.
Yeah, he gets the H.
But he gets slashed from Pennywise. Like Pennywise whips around with the thing that's in his head, and he slashes
right in the belly again.
I think he slashes him or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah, because his claws come out.
I know he slashes, but I don't remember where the line I'm about to say falls in the movie. But at some point, they're standing there, and Richie turns to Ben and goes, "Look at this motherfucker. He's like hemorrhaging hamburger helper."
That line was great.
It was just so good. Like the audience was laughing as much as they were gasping or hiding. So
there was a lot of, and I think the Easter eggs in the film were really well done too. So like so towards the end of the book, they talk about how the adults see Pennywise too during like the fire. People saw Pennywise because the fire happens because a racist, when like the Klan comes and like sets it on fire, and some people see it. And then towards the end of the book, because I even caught this, I was like, there's like 6 or 7 hours left. And then they go back to the history of the town again. I'm like, God damn, can we just wrap this up? And the one thing they talked about was some like thugs came into town and had like a big shootout. And they told you everything you need to know about that shootout when they were bandaging up Ben, because they had a mural painted to it on the wall behind them.
Yep.
So they don't have to deal with that shit in part 2.
Really
it's all right there.
That's smart, yeah.
And I almost would like to go back to that mural and see if someone didn't paint a clown somewhere there, because Pennywise was there.
Yeah.
In that thing. Oh my God, I got to see that.
I saw him in I don't remember if it was the mural. You definitely see old-timey Pennywise.
You see the old-timey one like back in like Derry in like the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. But he was on the wall too.
Was he?
Yeah, he was definitely on the wall.
Oh,
it wasn't just in the book; he was on the wall.
I wonder if he was in that mural of the shootout in the 30s. Well, I guess that the timeline's different now in the movie.
Yeah,
but whenever that takes place,
right?
Well, I forgot to find out. Well, we got Movie Pass, so we can just fucking see it.
Yeah, God
every time
bless.
we want. So, but overall,
Yeah.
it was really good. Were you going to do the?
Yeah, let's do it. So this is just a fun game I like to.
Okay, because this.
All right,
is...
so we're gonna run through better or worse. We'll call this is a new segment. We'll call it better or worse.
Oh, this is on the fly too, so I'm not even ready.
It movie 2017. It or Annabelle creation, better or worse? It's better
because I felt more connection with the people. What about you?
Better. Yeah,
better.
Definitely better. Okay, so It or Split?
This is where it fucks me up because James McAvoy, the scene with James McAvoy when he's switching characters was just phenomenal.
Yes.
I think I'll still go with It though because I still really like the Losers Club. I like Alexander Skarsgård, Alexander Skarsgård, and
Bill Skarsgård, I think.
Bill Skarsgård. Oh yeah, because that's his brother. That's the guy from True Blood.
So better.
Better.
I'm gonna go better too.
Better.
Okay.
That got me a little.
But it's hard, right?
That got me a little.
All right. It or Get Out?
Get Out.
I'm still going with It. I love Get Out. It was really, really good, but I don't know. I think I just have a weakness for monster movies. I can't,
But I just
it's a thing.
But I love the It book. Like I just finished it, so like. But I don't know. But that's the thing is like but we got the Mummy.
Yeah,
it's very. But it's two completely different films.
Yeah.
But I think It was phenomenal.
Yes.
And I almost don't know how I feel about that answer. Like I want to say like they're 50-50 because I can't
Yeah,
choose.
it's almost a tie. You're right. It's pretty much a tie because I mean Get Out is more ambitious and it's
I would say Get Out is like our like the newest version of like a Silence of the Lambs we're gonna get in terms of like solid story and execution. And I
guess if we're calling the segment better or worse, I'm gonna have to make it a tie. I enjoyed It more, but I think that's a tie. Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed It more because it's a monster film, but I think in terms of like filmmaking, I think Get Out was just a solid fucking package.
Yes.
And and maybe my answer will change when Chapter 2 comes out, and I can have it as like one whole fucking Happy Meal.
Yeah, I could totally see that. It's not. Yeah, I could totally see that.
But that's a hard fucking choice too. Like that's not an easy one.
Yes,
that's not an easy one to make there.
No, not at all. Any others we want to?
It wasn't this year, but I want to do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Conjuring 2 because of Valak.
Definitely
It.
I'm not a big fan of the Wandaverse.
No,
never. I mean, it was okay, but it was. I don't know.
I liked it, but I'm gonna go with It.
Yeah,
and I can't think of anything else we saw this year because it was Split, Get Out. Split, Get Out were like the top two ones of the year. It's so funny because they came out early and we're in September. Fuck.
Yeah, totally. I think the first if I'm trying to go back in time to find a horror movie that I liked more than It, I think the first one that jumps into mind is The Witch.
Really?
Yes.
That's
there might be more, but that's the first one that jumps to mind.
The Witch, though, like you are, but I can almost see that in the same reason why I liked the It book of. I liked It the book because The Witch fed you a whole lot of fucking food until that ending scene where shit hit the fan. So I can see that. I can see that.
I think The Witch unsettled me more for sure. It nerved me out way more than this movie did, for sure. I think The Witch is the most scared I've been in a theater in quite a while.
Yeah,
it had an effect on me the way The Shining has an effect on me. Like it is similar.
Okay, let me ask you something. Let me ask you this: in terms of things that terrified you, and then we'll wrap up. Because I was trying to think of like what's the last thing that show. Because ideally, I think if you compare it to any other film, it should be like a monster movie. But in terms of things that terrified you, because that's interesting with The Witch. Would you say? I'm trying to think if I should compare it to The Witch or It. The Twin Peaks finale.
Oh yeah, I mean that's not even a comparison then, because Twin Peaks is not only better than any of those things. I mean, The Witch is pretty damn good actually, but Twin Peaks is just a whole another level of thing. It's a whole nother level of the reason that The Witch unsettled me. One of the reasons, because the guy put like 5 years into this movie, so there's a
You feel it.
variety of fights going on there. But the reason I think The Witch unsettled me so much was it felt like something. If your brain goes too far into a concept, like let's say religion, that this is something that could happen to you. And maybe it's really happening to you, or maybe it's just happening in your imagination. But it's something that could just totally take you down and take your family down with you.
Yeah.
Know? And that concept is terrifying to me. It's similar like Repulsion, like Roman Polanski. Like you don't know whether that's really happening or not really happening or whatever. But your brain can just take you into really dark places, and then it just kind of eats out your world. and right. So that part of it was what unsettled me about that. The reason that Twin Peaks trumps that is that Twin Peaks' level of fright is a different concept, which is I feel like there's something in that show that comes out of the TV and actually gets into your life. Like I find myself thinking about it more. Like, you know, I was more invested in the characters, obviously. And there's just something really dangerous inside David Lynch. There's a not fucking around element to David Lynch.
Yeah.
Where he's a really gentle, quiet guy, but he's literally dealing with some really dangerous shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whatever. So I just feel like that's more, it doesn't feel like that. And to be honest with you, even the book doesn't feel like that. The book's pretty flashy and showy for Stephen King. I love the book, but like my preference for Stephen King is books like Salem's Lot, The Shining, or Gerald's Game, even where it's not building a world. It's focused on kind of like a narrow situation, and you're focused on a few characters. And
there's a lot of people.
Yeah, no shit. And that's, you know, that's not, you know.
I got to the end and they mentioned someone. I was like, who?
Like, I know, it's like reading a Russian novel. There's like 400 people in it. Right? Yeah. Well, anyway, that's the thing is like, it's not. I feel like this movie. I feel like any movie that's this flashy is only scary in so far as the scares that happen to you at the time. It's not a movie that like scares you when you get out of bed at 2 a.m. to go get some water or something and you're afraid to be in a dark room because Pennywise is coming out. Like it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not. It's too flash. It's too slick.
Yeah.
You know, for that.
I get that. I hope when this film comes out that they're like, surprise, here's a 4-hour cut with more of the backstory, because I could watch. The movie went by too quick. It's 2 hours long, but it does not feel like a 2-hour long movie.
No,
it's so good. It just zooms by.
And I think a great way to end this is exactly what you said. We're just going to miss the kids. It's a great cast, and they did a great job of presenting them to us. It's a shame that there's not more.
I know. I'm sad that next time, more than likely when part 2 rolls, we're going to probably not see them. So, well, you know what we will see in October is Stranger Things, so we'll get Richie back. So
that's true.
That's fine.
That's fine.
We'll deal with that.
Yeah, we'll deal with that.
So, anyways, go check out it. It's
and we're really curious what you guys think. You guys are really you're really vocal and interactive on both our Facebook page and in our Facebook group. We're really curious what people are making of this movie. So, hit us up with some comments. Post in the group, whatever you want to do. We're really curious what you guys make of this movie.
And until then, watch a bunch of scary movies and stay scary.
Yep, I guess.
Bye.